Bless your family. It's your minister, Mr. Sanders, back for another car conversation, y'all. I love these car conversations. Gives me a chance to kill some time as I go to my destination, but also, excuse me, gives us an opportunity to just break down some much-needed subjects. Shout out to this handheld phone device I now use, so I'm not holding no phone. As y'all can see, the phone's propped up. We're going to talk about Las Vegas having no culture. Las Vegas doesn't have any culture. So here's the thing. People always say Las Vegas has no culture, and specifically, Las Vegas has no black culture. I want to first start off by saying, being somebody who has been studying the black history of Las Vegas since 2018, like intentionally studying, being somebody that has been studying Las Vegas history, Las Vegas culture, take away the black experience for the last 2 years, I can honestly say it's just untrue. Las Vegas has a lot of culture. Las Vegas has an abundance of culture, actually, and an abundance of black culture and black history. The thing is, when people talk about the culture, people are comparing cities. That's the worst thing you can do. Comparison is one of the evils of all evils. I don't care what it is. When you start comparing, you're comparing. When people say Las Vegas has no culture, what cities do they drop? I'm from Chicago, and I know for sure they say, like Chicago, Philly, LA, naming these cities, Houston, so on and so forth, New Orleans. First of all, you're naming cities that have all been around since the 1800s, like mid-1800s. So keep that in mind. We talk about Las Vegas having no culture. Las Vegas has been around since 1905. A few years ago, there were people who were still living who were born in 1905, 30 years ago. So keep that in mind, that we are still not far removed. The city is still growing and evolving. And when you say Las Vegas has no history, before I get to the black experience, I'm gonna just talk about the city overall. Talk about Las Vegas has no culture. You gotta understand the history of Las Vegas. This city started off as a railroad town in 1905 with two gentlemen having a town site, Senator Clark and J.T. McWilliams. The city wasn't even incorporated to 1911 when we got our first mayor. Cities like Chicago, LA, Houston, by the time 1911 came, they was already moving and grooving. Then we go from a railroad town to, in the 1940s, they start bringing in, well, first of all, go back, we get gaming in the 30s. The 40s, we get the abundance of what becomes the strip hotels. So really, Vegas really took off in the 40s. My grandmother was born in 42. So I'm giving y'all these dates to put everything in perspective. There are people who are still living in Las Vegas who was around in the 40s. So keep that in mind when you're comparing cities and talking about the growth of a city. Then we go from the hospitality boom in your 80s and your 90s. And these 2010s, what's the new focus? Focus is sports, right? We've always had gaming for the most part since the 30s. And now the focus is trying to make Las Vegas a home-like city like a Chicago, LA, where there's not just the tourism factor, but we got local things, more local things. But when you talk about Vegas not having culture, the hotels, the gaming, that is our culture. That's why people I get confused. Has no culture. What do you define as culture? Number one. Number two, we talk about black culture specifically. Black people didn't come to Las Vegas to 1907. And on the 1920 census, you had about 60 people on that census. In Chicago, in 1920, you had 60 people living on a block, let alone in the whole city. Free African Americans was in Chicago on the 1850 census, large numbers of them. On the 1870 census in Las Vegas, we had one black man, and that was John Howe. So look at the difference. We talk about we have no black history, no black culture. We're still new. Even in our leadership, we're only in our fourth wave of black leadership in Las Vegas. The first wave of black leadership in Las Vegas is your 1920s and 30s. That's your Arthur McCants. That's your Clarence Rays. That's your Zimmy Turners, your Bill Jones. That's that first wave, the J.P. Lydell. That's your NAACP, 1928. That's your Colored Citizens Labor Protection Association, 1931. Then we get to the 40s and the 50s, you know, and the 60s. That's our second wave. Your Woodrow Wilsons, right? Your Ruby Duncans, your Mary Wesleys, your Liberta Johnsons, your Mr. Hogarth, the Hogarths. You know, that's that second wave. And you got your third wave. That's your Wendell P. Williams. That's your Sweet Lou Collins. That's your Lawrence Weekly. That's your Stephen Horsford, your Yvonne Atkinson Gates. That's that generation. That's your third, your Frank Hawkins. And if I'm missing names, y'all, I'm just throwing it as it comes to me. That's your third. Then you have your fourth wave. That's your William McCurdy II. That's your Minister Stretch Sanders. That's your Leslie Ann Turner. That's your Coach Ashley Dawson. That's your Quentin Savoy. That's that generation, right? That's your coach. That's also with NAACP. That's that era. Your Patrina McKinney's. That's that phase. So when you think about it, we only four generations in. 4 generations into black leadership. So when you talk about Las Vegas has no history, no culture, understand how new this city is for real. Because I think if we really and that's why I share the history. I share the black history facts. I share the, the cultural segments, so we really understand what we're dealing with. And we can stop comparing, because you can't compare, you can't compete. A city as new as Las Vegas, with the new history, culture within the last 100 years, you can't compare it to a city that's 200 plus years old. But don't get it twisted. Las Vegas is one of the greatest cities in the world with some of the most dopest black history I've ever researched. So I think Las Vegas is powerful. I think the history is powerful. I think what makes this city so unique, especially the black culture, is the history of resilience. Is the history of how African Americans came here from Louisiana, came here from Arkansas, and built something from nothing. People don't realize the same way New York had Harlem, the same way Chicago had Bronzeville, the same way Pennsylvania had the Hill, the same way Seattle has the Central District, Las Vegas had Jackson Street. How many of us know about Jackson Street? And there are individuals right now, shout out to Ms. Dee Dee and Mr. Marcus Allen, who are working with the Jackson Street Alliance to try to revitalize that area, revitalize Jackson Street. And when we say today, we have no history, I can go down a rabbit hole of the history before we've had the great history of Las Vegas. But even today, when you say Las Vegas has no history, I'm looking at Miss China, who's doing the African dancing with Ola BC, African Dancing Drum Ensemble, with Miss Nikki and Uncle Hassani, who've been doing that for almost 30 years. I'm looking at them. When you say Las Vegas has no history, has no culture, no black history, I'm looking at Bullethead. Even shout to Keith Lee, doing the food reviews. I'm looking at my girl Miss Simone, that's doing her black experience. I'm looking at Devin Moore and Brady and what they're doing at Mariposa and all the stuff they do in nightlife. I'm looking at Sparkle and all the things she's doing promoting black business, black e-commerce. I'm looking at these things. I'm looking at the MLK Parade that's been a staple in our community. I'm looking at Gwen Walker and the Walker African American Museum and Research Center. I'm looking at Minister Stretch Sanders' Black History Tour. So I'm confused. What culture do y'all want to see? Because it's here. And that's not even the tip of the iceberg. I'm looking at the black bookstores. Analog Dope, shout out to them. Multicultural Bookstore, Miss Carol, shout out to her. And same thing with Miss Rochelle Analog. I'm looking at them. I'm looking at all these entities. And we saying Las Vegas ain't got no culture. And that's just 10 things off a list of 100 I could name. I'm looking at Just Flow and the poetry spaces. I'm looking at Twix and with his business and the things he's doing, promoting culture. I'm looking at all these things. The 1,000 Black Man March. I'm just like, what culture? Like, I just want to ask people, what do you define as culture? Because I'm like, we got a lot of culture here, and it's growing. It's growing. Anything you want in Las Vegas, we got. We got the black vegans. We got the black plant-based. We got the Afrocentric communities. We got the, the faith communities. We got the gospel brunches. We got it all. I'm looking at Mr. Grand Jamie topic parties. I'm looking at all these things. That's what I'm saying. What more culture? And I want people, when you see this video, if I didn't name what you're doing, if you know it's part of building the culture, drop it in the comments. And I do apologize if I skipped anybody again. I'm driving. I'm just throwing it as it comes. But I'm just saying, there is culture here. There's black culture here, and there's a city culture. culture here. The question is, what are you doing?